Nice, nice, nice. Good morning again, everyone. And especially good morning to anyone who's on the live streaming, wherever you are geographically. Whatever you're doing today, you're still a part of our spiritual community. The theme for 2014 at the Center for Spiritual Living is a year of spiritual practice, as you can see behind me. And this month, the focus is on service. Today, because July 4th, the title is Service to My Country. Actually, your country, it says there, but it's to my country. It's our country, right? As many of you know, I grew up in Canada, and I became a naturalized United States citizen in 1998. Now, I came here in 1960. Well, when did I come here the first time? 1961. And it's a long time between 1961 and 1998. And there's a long story in between there, which doesn't bear repeating this morning. But it took me a while to become a naturalized citizen because having come from Canada, there was a part of me that did not want to give up my Canadian citizenship. So picture this. I'm one of the Golden Girls this morning. Picture this. It's the Pomona Fairgrounds, 1998, August. Hot, hot, hot. My son came with me that day, fully expecting to be able to participate in the event. However, there were 6,999 other people getting their citizenship that day. And there were no guests allowed in the pavilion. And so he had to wait outside while I was taken through the process of this ceremony. It was an amazing experience, and one I will not soon forget. There were people from all nationalities there, all of us waving our little American flags with our new citizenship papers in the other hand, all the while singing the American national anthem. And it was emotional, very emotional for many of those who had come from really oppressed countries and having made the journey to the United States under duress for most of them. And it was celebratory. It was just a most wonderful, wonderful celebration. My immigration from Canada, obviously, to here was not anywhere near a matter of life and death, except for one reason. It was a matter of life and death for my father, because had we continued to live in Canada, he would clearly have died, because he was not managing the very cold winters in Canada very well. My neighbor in the 70s, where we lived in Agoura, was from Cuba, and her father was chief physician to Batista. And so their leaving Cuba was a matter of life and death for them, and they left literally with the clothes on their back. She tells the story, Yolanda told the story of her mother having what little jewelry she could take with her sewn into the hem of the coat and the dresses that she wore to come to the United States. Two of the teens in my youth group during the 80s, when the then Church of Religious Science was over on Hillcrest, were from Persia, now Iran, and they too left home and property to flee to the United States after the deposing of the Shah. And yet another young person that I worked with in the late 60s in San Francisco was from Russia and on the Olympic team and sought political asylum in the United States in the late 60s. Ralph Waldo Trine said in 1897, "Patriotism is a beautiful thing. It is well for me to love my country, but why should I love my country more than I love all others? If I love my own and hate others, I then show my limitations, and my patriotism will stand the test not even for my own. If I love my country and in the same way love other countries, then I show the largeness of my nature, and a patriotism of this kind is noble and always to be relied upon." None of the people who were with me in 1998 at the Pomona Fairgrounds, or those others I mentioned before, stopped loving the country that they came from. And in fact, it was one of the hardest things in the naturalization process to renounce the country that we came from. I crossed the fingers on both my hands as I said the Declaration to the United States, as though that would negate the power of my words in renouncing Canada and choosing the United States. Today, many people are privileged to have dual citizenship, and I am pleased to be one of them. Those rules have kind of changed in the process. Now, what I learned about that day for me is that citizenship is not just the pursuit of self-interest without harming others or breaking the rules. It is also about being part of a collected effort to solve our collective problems in this country. After all, we will benefit from the successful operation of our democracy, hence we all need to do our part. And so what does it mean to be in service to one's country? That was the question that I was thinking about last night as I was writing this talk. What does it mean to be in service to my country? Well, when most people hear the turn of phrase, being in service to one's country, they most often think about being in the military. That's the first thing I think that comes to mind. And that's not what I want to talk about today, although that's a very lofty pursuit. And that those who have served in the military have done so to keep our freedoms intact and for us to be able to live in a free country. I get that. But by being a responsible, law-abiding, respectful, honest, compassionate citizen, holding myself and my loved ones to higher standards than society demands, but forgiving and lending a helping hand when any one of us falls short is a way to serve my country. Perhaps volunteering or being active within our own communities is one of the best forms of service, because by creating a community that is free and is running effectively, then it helps to set an example for the whole rest of the country, the state and the country. When we volunteer our time to aid in the moral support and enrichment of others, which in turn gives them the opportunity and sets the example for them to do the same, this is one of the ultimate forms of service, is setting an example. There's a wonderful ripple effect, and our help and encouragement makes the experience of life easier for those who may be struggling. This is not an easy task for some of us. And that, being an adult who is a positive role model for the youth in our lives is another form of service that will improve the future of our country and our world. Children need good leaders. They need boundaries. They need discipline. They need love. And they need trust and security above all else. Whether they receive those lessons at home or in their contact with others can only be determined by good citizens who set an example. Children need to feel safe in their environments, both at school, at church, and first and foremost at home. I have a wonderful friend, Reverend Nancy Woods from the Granada Hills Center, and she has been a public health nurse in service to the San Fernando Valley school system for well over 30 years. And she just recently retired, and we were having an in-depth discussion about the high incidence of violence in the school system. They have what they call a PET team, as a team of people that come in to intervene on behalf of the school, people who are trained for this sort of thing. And it seems to be recurring over and over again in the school system these days. And it is her opinion, and the opinion of most of the people in the know, that the high levels of violence, student to student, is more prevalent in wartime than at any other time. They have watched it happening through the years, and people do studies on these kinds of things to try and figure out sort of how to prevent it or how to keep it at bay, if you will. Since the United States has actively been engaged in war in some form or another for the last 15 or 16 years, our young people seem to feel, this is Nancy's opinion, she said, our young people seem to feel that engaging in violence toward one another is acceptable behavior, since those in office are sanctioning such violence with other countries. It's kind of something to think about, don't you think? I mean, just to sit back and wonder, you know, what is this all about? Why is this happening in our school system? So what can I do for my country? Well, I can be the best and most compassionate person that I know how to be. That's where it begins. I can be the best mother to my children and the best grandmother to my granddaughter. I can be a law-abiding, jury-serving defender of the Constitution. I can be community active, voting, questioning, respectful citizen who suffers the opinions and beliefs and rights of others with as much dignity and tolerance that I can spare. Now, that's sort of a qualified statement, wouldn't you say, that I can spare? Well, you know, sometimes it doesn't serve us to get in arguments about politics. It certainly doesn't serve us to get into arguments about religion because, as John pointed out, we have family members who might not agree with us in that area. I can stand for something and be against nothing. I can hold my country and all its military, both men and women, and their spouses who serve and those who serve in other ways in prayer. I can fully understand the idea of world peace because my life reflects a peaceful and harmonious daily experience. I can support those in office, whether Republican or Democrat, by praying for the qualities of being that I want in the leadership of my country, rather than a specific political affiliation. Lao Tzu said, if you want to awaken all of humanity, then awaken yourself. Awaken all of yourself. If you want to eliminate suffering in the world, then eliminate all that is dark and negative in yourself. Truly, the greatest gift you have to give the world is your own self-transformation. So by transforming myself and doing the things that I know that I can do to be a good citizen of this country, then through my own self-transformation, I can then take it out into my world and see other areas transformed. I can begin to work on my own transformation so that I remove the word hate from my vocabulary and find it in myself where that place of compassion rules and understanding prevails. As the Dalai Lama said so profoundly, it is far more useful to become aware of a single shortcoming in ourselves than it is to be aware of 1,000 in someone else. And when I effect this kind of change in my own life, it gives others permission to do the same. I can serve my spiritual community and my community in general by stepping up and stepping out to be of service in ways that provide an avenue through which other lives are changed and enriched. This is not a difficult thing for us to do. You know, the most wonderful words that anyone can hear are the 4 words, how can I help? Those are the most wonderful words to be heard. I can be a godly person and know myself in depth for the first time. Ernest Holmes understood the real meaning of being in service to his country when he wrote a prayer that he called My Prayer for My Country. And so I ask you at this time to join me in consciousness and hear the words from your heart. If you would please just close your eyes for a few moments and go within and just simply get settled into the seat where you are. You know, he believed in the divinity, the divine destiny of the United States of America, and the preservation of liberty, security, and self-expression for all. And so I offer this, his prayer for our country. I know that divine intelligence governs the destiny of the United States of America, directing the thought and the activity of all who guide its affairs. I know that success, prosperity, and happiness are the gifts of freedom and the divine heritage of everyone in this country, that they are now operating in the affairs of every individual in this country and in this sanctuary today. I know that divine guidance enlightens the collective mind of the people of this country, causing it to know that economic security may come to all without the loss of either personal freedom or individual self-expression. I know that no one can believe or be led to believe that personal freedom must be surrendered in order to ensure economic security for all. The all-knowing mind contains the answer to every problem which confronts this country. I know that every leader in this country is now directed by this all-knowing mind and has the knowledge of a complete solution to every problem. Each is impelled to act upon this knowledge to the end that abundance, security, and peace shall come to all. I know that this spiritual democracy shall endure, guaranteeing to everyone in this country personal liberty, happiness, and self-expression. And for this, I release my word to the creative mind, knowing that in this creativity, there is something for each and every one of us to believe, to feel, and to know the truth that God is in the mix and that all is well, as we say together, and so it is. And so this morning,